Welcome back to my Flosstube. I'm Mel, Wordy Stitches, and that is Vespa, my cat, who's just decided that she wants to join in Flosstube today. So this is my Flosstube, as I said, Wordy Stitches. I'm also Wordy Stitches on Instagram. This is Flosstube number 5. If you don't know what Flosstube is, it is a corner of YouTube where people talk mostly about cross stitch and some of the crafts. So if that's not what you're interested in, then you can peace out. But if you are, welcome. If you're new and you haven't watched one of my videos before, hello, and I hope you enjoy what you see. If you're one of my subscribers, then thank you and welcome back, and I'm looking forward to hanging out with you for a bit of stitchy chat. So it's currently Friday the 11th of February. It's about 5 p.m. and I just thought I would film this afternoon rather than tomorrow morning because got a few things I have to do this weekend, and so get the filming over, and then I've just got probably editing to do tomorrow if I don't get that done tonight. So let's get on with things. So what are we going to start with? Let's start with finished objects. I haven't got any fully finished objects. Got one that's quite close, but not quite fully finished. So this is my first one. So I talked about this last time. This is just a little bit of a whim project. It's based off Liz Mathews' After the Rain project, and I will put, pattern. I'll put a photo there of what that looks like. It was one of her releases last year, and I really like it, and one day I will probably stitch the whole thing, but I got an idea that I'd like to do just 4 rainbows to represent me, my mum, my dad, and my brother. So I've just done for each person 2 of their favourite colours, and then the middles are the eye colours. This one is my dad, who's no longer with us, so he also gets extra sparkles of one of each of our favourite colours around him as well. So that was very cute, and it's a fun stitch. Like, each of the rainbows is slightly different, just enough to keep it interesting, but they don't take that long to stitch up. So that is my little rainbow project. And then the other thing I made was this little pin cushion. Now this is all Laura's fault from Brenda and the Serial Starter. She showed this book, Pin Pals, on one of her Flosstubes recently. It wasn't the last one, maybe the one before that or the one before that. And I just thought they looked really cute and a good way to practice some sewing techniques and quilting techniques. So I made this little one, which was my first go at like machine applique. As you can see, it's not stuffed yet, so I need to find some crushed walnut shells or sand or something to stuff that with. But that was lots of fun, and it didn't take too long. So I'll have something pretty to stick my pins in once I finally stuff that one. But other than that, no fully finished objects. As I said last time, I was wondering whether I'd get to do another one in 2 weeks' time because things are starting to get a little bit busy again. So I've got less stitching time, and as predicted, that has happened. So I've probably got less to talk about than last time. So it may not be a super long one, and it may actually be next time there might be a little bit of a bigger break before I talk about anything. But let's move on to whips. So last time I was talking about February plans because I filmed at the end of January, and that one of my whip go calls was this pattern, You Had Me At Flamingo by Hands On Design. So I started that one on February the 1st. These are the flosses. So mostly the called for this pink and the green are slightly different because I just couldn't get them when I was ordering them last year. We were in lockdown, and you know, shipping to Australia has been a problem. So the stores are out of various things, but they're still all very pretty together. And this is where I am at. So basically I'm working on the flamingos. I think I've got 5 or 6 flamingos to put in, and then there's just 1 row of border at the bottom. So you know, I should finish this in another week maybe, I think, and it's just on some peachy 28 count I think it's a linen, but it's from my mystery stash that I got from a relative of mine who used to own a needlework store and kindly gifted me a big box of fabrics last year. So I can't tell you what it is, but it's probably fairly old and may not be available anymore. So that's You Had Me At Flamingo. I don't think I've worked on Dilemma at all in the last 2 weeks, so I'm not going to show you that one. My other Whip Go project was Atlantis by OwlForestEmbroidery, which I have showed you on the last two, and I just realized I didn't bring my little kit box over to show you the pattern, so I will pop a picture of the pattern there, and then probably a picture of where it was last time. So yeah, so this was a Whip Go last month, and so I probably did a little bit more from the end of last month, and then my goal is another 5 days or more this month, and I think I've only done one of those because I've been focusing on getting the flamingos done. So this is where I'm up to now. I've just really been adding to this house, so I'm getting there. I've got like just the windows to put in and the very edge of the roof and the sides, so hopefully my 5 days will get me the house finished and something else started, and I might do a bit more this month. So that is growing along. That is Atlantis by OwlForestEmbroidery. And then my third whip is my temperature bookshelf. So this is by Kristi's Korner Needlework, who is Kristi's Korner Needlework here on Flosstube, but she is Dr. Kristi on Instagram. So the idea of this is you stitch a book a day, and the colour indicates the maximum temperature of that day. And there are lots of different options for temperature charts if that's a thing that grabs you. Kristi has a cool drinks cabinet one. She has a different bookshelf from last year. You can get galaxies, you can get flowers, you can get all sorts of things for temperature charts. But let's see where I'm up to. So last time, obviously, I hadn't quite finished January, but now January is all done, and we are stitching into February, almost 2 weeks. So today will be another sort of tealy day because it's been cooler in Melbourne, and then we've got a couple of warm days over the weekend and then coolish again. So I'm not sure, unless we have a really late heat wave, I don't know if I'm going to get into my, I might be jinxing myself, top temperature chart much in this summer, maybe in December, because end of February is technically the end of summer in Melbourne, and even though the seasons have shifted a bit and we can get some quite hot weather in March and April, it would be unusual if we get into those really high temps. So basically in Australia we have the La Nino cycle. So La Nino is hotter and drier, and we get droughts and lots of bushfires and things. But and these cycles last about 7 years on or off. They can be a bit longer. I think the last El Nino was longer. But we're in a La Nina at the moment, so we're getting lots of rain and floods and cooler, muggier temperatures. So yeah, it's hard to judge what your temperature chart should be. But you know, if I do one next year and it turns out that I haven't used those highest temperatures much, I will just adjust my temperatures range down a little bit if I do another temperature chart next year. But we'll just have to wait and see what the weather gods have in store for us, because Melbourne's weather is super changeable. For my non-Australians, I live in Melbourne, which is the capital of the southernmost east coast state of Australia. So we have sort of like a moderate climate. It gets quite hot in summer, but we don't get super cold winters. We get a little bit of snow in Victoria, but not really in Melbourne. And, you know, average temperature in Melbourne is like 13, 14, 15 degrees Celsius, so not super cold. And then my other whip, which I talked about last time, I talked about how I've gotten a little bit interested in English paper piecing and joined the Strawberry Thieves Hexi Club. Now I was a little bit surprised that, in fact, I was expecting the shipping from Perth to me to take like 3 weeks or so, because it's been taking 3 weeks or 4 weeks for stuff to get from WA to Victoria for a while during the pandemic. But it actually turned up just a few days after I filmed my last Flosstube. So I've actually been making, my little 2-inch hexies. So yeah, so with their Hexi Club, they send you an introductory kit, and then you get a monthly top-up, which you can choose whether you want like a full top-up, which is like enough to make 40 hexies or something, or the half, which is about 20 something. Might be wrong, might be more in the bigger ones. But anyway, so yeah, so I've made, I don't know, I think there's 28 maybe in this introductory pack. Gorgeous Liberty fabrics. Let me just scroll through and pick some pretty ones. I like that one. I've actually got a hanky in that colour. This one. Lots of pretties. So there you go. That is the tiny start of what will eventually be a hexagon quilt, maybe, if I decide I like it enough to stick with it that long. I think you need like 400 to 500 of these to make like a double size quilt. So we'll see. But they're fun, and like, yeah, as I said last time, English paper piecing. So you cut the piece of fabric and then you fold the seam allowance over a paper template, and that helps it hold the structure. And then you, the old-fashioned way was to hand base them on, but these days you can glue base with fabric glue, which is a lot quicker, which is why I decided I would give it a go. So those are my hexagons. And then I think, because the idea with these is that you make like a chunk of hexagons before you start. So they go into like flowers, which are like a central one with 6 ones. 6? I think that works. Hexagons have 6 sides, 6 around to make a flower, and then those flowers get sewn together into the quilt. So so that you're not restricting your color choices and things too much, you sort of make a decent sized batch of hexies. So I'll probably wait till I've got 50 or 60 before I start making flowers. So I'll be basting for a while. So just to like have a test of the technique of how you actually sew them together, which is all hand sewn. I just made this little 1-inch hexie. So this is what a flower looks like. So you've got your central one, and then you sew 6 around. And as you can see, so once you've got, once one of the pieces is joined to another piece on all sides, you can take the paper out. And the idea is that for the point of English paper piecing is you get very crisp seams and points. And then you can be a lot more accurate and sort of fussy and precise than you can with machine quilting without a great deal of headache, I would imagine. So I'm not quite sure what I'll do with this, whether I'll make a few more smaller ones or whether I'll applicate this onto something to make a coaster or just a tiny wall hanging. But there you go. That is the Hexi life has begun. Okay, so next I'm going to do my little pattern crush segment. As I said last time, I am on a no buy at the moment, and I haven't bought any non-essential stuff so far in February. I did buy a zip because I found an old knitting tote bag, project bag, which is quite cute, but I want to turn it into a cross-stitch project bag, so I figure I'll just put a zip in the top. May not be the most elegant thing, but rather than trying to cut it up and re-sew it into a project bag, I thought that would be easier, so I did buy a zip. All right, so pattern crushes of the month. First one, this is a bit of silliness, but it's very cute. So Momma Loves You GB, Michelle on Instagram showed this pattern. So this is called Corgi Love. So it's Queen Elizabeth with one of her corgis. It is the Queen's, so she is the Queen of Australia as well. It's her 70th, so it's her platinum, I think it's platinum jubilee. Yeah, so she's been queen for 70 years, which is the longest of any monarch in English history. So regardless of what you think about monarchy and republics and things, I think anyone who does a job for 70 years, which involves a lot of stuff that most of us would not want to do, deserves to be celebrated. So I thought that was cute, and it's quite possible I may stitch that at some time. I mean, she does wear some gorgeous colours, the Queen, so you could make her dress pretty much any colour you wanted, I think. All right, so let's talk about some other pattern crushes. Don't know how. So last week, Laura and Brenda and the Serial Starter were at the Attics gathering, and they did like a live show and tell from all the very talented cross stitchers and needle women who were at that attic. And so they had people coming up and showing their finished samplers and things. Brenda and Laura both stitch a lot of like traditional samplers, which are gorgeous. I don't know how many of those I will stitch, just because it's not really my decorating style, is not really that sort of more rustic, primitive, like a bit more modern and eclectic, as you can tell maybe from my hot pink wall. But they showed this pattern. I'm going to, oh, my iPad likes to make my photos disappear if I touch it. So this is, I'm going to hold it back a bit because it's a bit hard to see. This is called Bridget Powers, I think, by Gigi R. And it's what I like. You can never tell from photos, they're always more gorgeous stitched. So I think 2 people had this and it was just beautiful. But what I like is just this basket of flowers. Like, I love flowers and paint flowers and things. So and Brenda actually said, oh, you could just do the basket of flowers. And of course that made my little ears prick up. But you know, if you look on Instagram and search for Bridget Powers, you'll find some stitched examples, and the colours are just glorious. So, you know, that's going on the maybe one day pile. And then LongDogSamplers, who are the designer of Dilemma, which I'm stitching, released a new sampler. I think it's called Lo and Behold. And I like this one. All those animals right up my alley. Look, it's got a crocodile, an elephant, rhinoceroses, all sorts of crazy things in there. So this may be my next in line long dog if I ever finish stitching Dilemma. But I just thought that was just gorgeous. Her patterns are amazing. I would love to know how her brain works and how she comes up with just fitting all those things in. And then lastly, this sampler, which is called A Dutch Sampler by Barrick. And this is an older pattern, I think. I'm not sure. It may have come out last year, but I've seen it around since I sort of got back into cross stitch, which was just last year. And it's funny because when I first got back in and I was seeing all the sampler style things, you know, the ones on this darker fabric, I was like, oh, I don't know if I like that darker fabric. But I just really like how the blues, got tealy blues and sort of whites and greens show up on that fabric. And look, it's got a crazy pelican. You know, who doesn't want to stitch a giant pelican? So that is one on the list. And funnily enough, one of the patterns I did buy last year. Hello from Liz Mathews Liz is Kathy Barrick's daughter, and I bought her a Dutch sampler collection last year. So apparently maybe I have a thing for Dutch samplers. And again, it's quite possible this is one that just pulls out some of the motifs, and these smalls pull out some of the motifs. So it's quite likely I may just do that at some point. But I just thought it was funny that I'm now going, oh, look at that other Barrick woman sampler as well. So those are my pattern crushes of the last fortnight. No, I haven't bought any of them because, as I said, I'm on a no buy and I have no immediate plans to start them. But you know, share the pretty things, I say. Maybe they will catch someone else's eye. So that will bring us on to haul, I think. So my sister-in-law gave me an Etsy voucher for Christmas, which was really lovely of her. So I decided that I would order some XJu Designs fabric, because I hear people talk about various linen companies, and you know, I haven't stitched on a lot of different linen yet. I only really started stitching on linen last year. I used to stitch mostly on even weave. Never been a big Ada stitcher. I didn't learn on Ada for some reason. My NeedleWork teacher in high school just started us on even weave. So I was expecting that to take, I think I ordered that probably just before New Year's or maybe early January. I can't remember, but I was expecting it to take quite some time because it's got to come from Hungary. And you know, when I ordered the Atlantis pattern from Russia last year, it took 5 months. So you just can't tell with the postage, but it arrived this week. So let me just show you. So this one is Old Sheep, which I think, let me just check. This is 36 count. I quite like stitching on 36 count, so that's just a really nice neutral sort of milky tea colour. Not really sure, like, having dealt with some sheep, I have a friend who has like sheep, they're a little bit more grey, but maybe Hungarian sheep are more beigey. But that one, and then this one, which is called Light Hazelnut. Now this is 40 count. I haven't stitched on 40 count before. And you know, realistically, it's only 2 more stitches an inch than 36 count, but it's a little bit daunting. But I can see the threads without magnification, so I think that's a good start. And maybe it was this colour that made me suddenly prick up my ears when I saw that Kathy Barrick one again pop up on Instagram. Who was stitching that? Maybe Nicola from Number 12 Stitch Co. Handmade at Number 12. She is on Instagram. She makes hand-dyed linen as well, and I think she was stitching that on some linen that's probably a bit darker than this, but this sort of dark shade. But I think I will probably, for my first 40 count, pick something that's a monochromatic project and a little bit easier. So I might go off and have a hunt through Jacob at Modern Folk Embroideries Designs. He's got some nice monochromatic smaller things before I get ambitious and decide to stitch a big sampler on 40 count and destroy my eyesight forever. And then the last one, don't choke on your watermelon, is this one. So this is called Blue Steel. So it's a very sort of light grey blue with these darker patches. And the reason I got this one is that I have a Mirabilia that I want to stitch, which is this Raven Queen. Now, I am a writer. I write fantasy and urban fantasy, and I have a series in which there are magical ravens, and the latest fantasy series I'm doing, which is, you know, connected, is actually called the Daughter of Raven series. So when I saw this, I kind of couldn't resist. So it's just on like a pale grey, I think it's a Witchelt, 32 count. So I'd ordered just some Swagart, I think this is Silvery Moon. But then when I saw this on the XJu Designs, because I've seen some gorgeous Mirabilias on these hand-dyed fabrics, and just, you know, the little bit of mottling and things just adds that bit more to the background. So I think she could look quite cool, because it's meant to be an icy, wintry, so that looks a bit like a snowstorm, wintry, foggy day. So I think this may be the winner, and then I will use this lovely grey Zweigart for something else. These are the threads, as Nikki Noodle said in her last video, in a lovely sandwich bag from Woolworths, just while I've been hitting them up. But you know, it's greys and teals and sort of burgundy, so I think they will look fine against that one as well. So that is my current plan for that fabric, is to do the Raven Queen at some point, because she is ginormous as well. I don't know when I'm going to stitch all these big projects. I'm going to turn into someone with 50 whips. No, that will do my brain in. So I have to work out a plan. She will be started at some point. And then the last bit of my haul, I think last time I talked, going back to sewing, I talked about the fact that I had kind of fallen in love with a Tilda fabric designer quilt pattern with like these cute swimming ladies, and I'd ordered a cushion kit because there's a cushion version, and I thought a cushion might be more doable for me who's hasn't done anything but very basic quilting. So that fabric release was the 1st of February, and so I got my pre-order this week too. So this is the pattern. I'm doing this grey one, cute swimming lady. I'm a bit of a swimmer, so I like swimming lady things. So this is the fabric I got. So these are this is her line called Cotton Beach. So these are the fabrics. So I ordered the one fat quarter set, but there's some, you know, a few other pieces from that in the kit, which will be fun. And reading the pattern, it's not applique, it's actually pieced. So yeah, I'm kind of glad I didn't go for the quilt version, because that's going to be a challenge for me to learn how to do that. And then I got the charm square set as well, just because I really like beachy fabrics, and I like the colors in this. It's pinks and teals and grays, so with some pops of yellow. So those will be good. I can make quilty things, I can make bags out of those, I can use them for a backing project. So yeah, so that all arrived this week, but was all ordered before my no buy came into effect, so I have not broken the rules. And then I think I also spoke last time when I was talking about English paper piecing about the fact that Katie from Cottage Garden Threads has invented, well, she just calls it a gadget for helping you fold over your edges a bit faster. So I ordered the 2-inch version of that to see if it makes life faster for piecing. And I've English paper piecing for putting together the hexes, so I've used that a bit and it's good. But again, to justify shipping, because it wasn't terribly expensive, I thought I would buy a few more Cottage Garden threads to add to my collection, because support the Victorian dyers, I say. So this one is Quinn, sort of aquas and blues going through to navy. This one is Rosalie. This one is Hollyhock. So these two I've kind of got a project in mind for, but haven't quite decided. And then I got Sail Away, which is just nice sort of watery blues, and this Rustigate, which is, it's got like a, that's looking brown, but it's actually a sort of eucalyptusy green with the rusty brown. So I think I talked in my first floss tube when I was talking about Whipgo. I've actually got an embroidery kit, which is like sort of freeform hand embroidery for embroidering a map, and my plan for that is to actually stitch a map of the countries that are in my fantasy series. So I thought these two colors would be good for like water and, you know, edges of the country, and then maybe this one for some lakey bits, and then I'll add some greens and things too. So that is my current plan for those, but we'll see when that comes up on Whipgo. Eventually, it hasn't come up yet. All right, what's next? Oh, yeah, no, this isn't going to be a super long one, I think, but we're almost at half an hour, so it's not too bad. Okay, so plans. So I will finish my flamingos, and that will be one Whipgo goal ticked off for the month, and then I will do, yeah, I'm not gonna have a problem putting 4 more days into Atlantis, so hopefully that will be ticked off as well. And I'd like to do a little bit on Dilemma, but I think once I finish the flamingos, I will most likely start Ruskin's penguins, which I showed last time. And when I get my top-up kit, I'll make some more hexies, and I don't know if I will start on the pillow this month, just because at the end of next month I have a writing deadline and I just need to knuckle down and up the writing hours for the next 6 or 7 weeks, which probably means there won't be enough brain power or enough spare time to learn how to do a pieced quilt block. So that's more complicated than making, you know, like triangles and 9 patches and those sorts of things together, which is about the extent of my quilting to date. So that may have to wait a little while longer, but we'll see how the brain is going. I do have one more little crafty thing in mind that I may do, but that may have to wait to next month as well. So yeah, so I'll just keep stitching on the whips that I have, finish my Whipgo tasks, put a few more stitches in Dilemma, and hopefully start my penguins, and that will be about it. So thank you for listening to me rabbit on about the stitchy goodness again. Let me know what you're working on, if you're working on any of the same things, and I will be back in a few more weeks, somewhere between 2 to 4 weeks, I would imagine, with another update. But otherwise, I hope you have a lovely weekend and happy stitching.